With Liquor Barn, you can shop your favorite bourbon, that perfect bottle of wine, or discover something new. To place an order for pickup or delivery, download the Liquor Barn app, visit liquorbarn.com, or call your nearest Liquor Barn location. Follow us on social media and subscribe to our email list for all the latest news on products, promotions, and events. Liquor Barn, where Kentuckians go to celebrate life. Cheers!
James E. Pepper Barrel Proof Decanter Bourbon, distilled at the historic Pepper Distillery, DSP KY5 in Lexington, Kentucky. This new release, bottled in a striking recreated distillery decanter from the 1940s, has garnered high praise and accolades. Coming in at number 27 on Fred Minnick's Top 100 Whiskeys of 2023, it received a 94-point rating and was called absolutely delicious with notes of delicate hazelnut and toffee. Astor Wines, one of New York's most prestigious retailers, writes, "The whiskeys coming of age now are some of the finest from any American whiskey producer. This bourbon is arguably the most impressive you will find at this age. Available nationwide with a suggested retail price of $65. Learn more at jamesepepper.com.
Welcome to the Bourbon Life Podcast, your source for all things bourbon. Join your hosts, Mark and Matt, as they drink and review bourbons, share news about upcoming events, interview the who's who in the bourbon world, and, most importantly, bring you along for the fun of living the bourbon life. Now, here's your hosts, Mark and Matt.
All right, everybody, welcome back for another episode of the Bourbon Life Podcast. I'm your host, Mark, and with me here, back around the flights of the round table, it's my good friend, Matt. Matt, how you doing down here, man?
Mark, I'm great down here. Good to be back around the table, right?
I know. We did like 5 or 6 shows in a row, and then we had
a great run. Last week
we went back to Squadcast, which was great because we had Weta Michael on, and that was a lot of fun.
It was.
Talking with her. She was a great guest, and it was one of those episodes where I was not really sure how things were going to play out. I didn't know for sure how it was going to work. But she was a great guest, and it was just a lot of fun. Obviously, super knowledgeable about bourbon, and of course, you guys were like,
"Oh, she's just absolutely delightful."
Oh, did you all talk about cooking? I love it.
Yeah, and we talked about bourbon and and her tasting game, which we still have over here that she came out with, the bourbon tasting game.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So, yeah, but Matt, the weather here is crazy today in Lexington, man. It's like insane. I was out driving. I had to drive to Hodgenville, Kentucky for my real job today, and it was just like nasty pouring rain and crap. So I'm happy to be here.
Yeah.
Even though we're not drinking.
Here in the Bourbon Life studios, your basement, battening down the hatches.
That's right, man. We're locked and loaded here.
Into the month here until we can.
Yes, sir. Well, we've got a special show tonight. We've got a great friend with us. And actually, this is a three-peat for you. So this is going to be a lot of fun. Our third time having her on the show. So Matt, with that said, well, I do want to thank all of our sponsors. Of course, we are the Bourbon Life Podcast presented by Liquor Barn. We love those guys. Picked up a lot of stuff at Liquor Barn today, as a matter of fact. We're going to talk about all that.
And maybe you got some strange looks today.
I got a lot of strange looks today when I was making these purchases. I will admit that. There's no question about it. So we thank all of our sponsors, everything they do for us. Couldn't do it without our sponsors. With that said, Matt, you want to tell everybody who we have with us tonight?
Absolutely. Rebecca Burnworth is the owner, proprietor of the Stave Restaurant, District 7 Social here in District 7, yeah? Right?
Yeah, yeah, we call it D7 for short sometimes.
Here in Lexington, architect, all around woman of women in 2023. We are so glad to have her back on.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if I should let the cat out of the bag yet of what we're doing this evening. Should we talk about
Do
this?
it.
Go ahead.
No one better than you did.
And it was your idea. That's the thing. That was what's so funny because we were talking. You're texting
because
me.
When you called, you were like, "Let's do these bourbon tasting," and I'm doing dry January, right? You said you were, and that you were going to spit it out, and I was like, "Well, let's just try." Yeah. Maybe we could try non-spirited spirits.
Yeah.
And see what they can do for us. So.
I will be honest, I have never tasted any of these before. I never had them. Never had them neat. Never had them in a cocktail, a mocktail. Never tried them. So stopped by my friendly neighborhood liquor barn here in Hamburg.
And did not get liquor.
And did not get liquor. Yeah. And everybody's looking. I mean, you're right, because I go in there all the time, right, and buying stuff, and they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, dry January." They're like, "Oh, yeah." My condolences. Everybody felt sorry for me, right?
Yeah.
But no, it was a great idea, Rebecca. So I thank you for doing that. And, I will start to show off by saying, you have been with us since before we started. So you are our biggest fan, biggest supporter.
Thank
and
you.
we couldn't do the show without
Well, I'm so happy for you all.
So, you were there because we did the event out there, the Four Roses Valentine's Day event.
Right.
And that's how we met. We started talking. And then Matt and I were going to do the podcast.
Was that in 2019?
I think it was.
Wow.
Yeah, because we started the podcast in 2020, but we connected. We kept talking about things and doing events or whatever. And I started getting ready to start the podcast, and I reached out to you and said, "Hey, we're going to do this, and we'd love to have you as a sponsor." You're like, "I'm on board," and we did not have a single episode at all, and you're like, "I'm on board," and you have been on board with us since. This is season 5. So
thank you. Well, I love what you all do. The guests that you have on, and I think that they're really delving into the bourbon world and talking to the people that create all of these magical potions that we drink all of the time and that we celebrate in so many ways in Kentucky. For you to both to feature them in many ways. Talking to distillers, to creators, and it's just awesome. I'm glad that we have this for our bourbon life in Kentucky.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, we appreciate it.
And it's not just the distilleries and creators. It's people like you as well, restaurateurs who celebrate Kentucky and all things Kentucky and bourbon. And you have a restaurant called The Stave. For all intents and purposes, located right in the heart of everything, just down the road from Woodford Reserve, Castle and Key.
Don't
it's
give it away,
definitely an
Matt.
Interesting place to be.
Just kidding. But it's a great place, and we're going to talk about that some more.
Yes.
But let's talk about what we're drinking. We've got some things poured up for this first.
What do we
This is going to be so different, Matt.
This is going to be so different.
You've got the bottle down there.
Yeah,
man,
so this is, I believe the brand would be Spiritless, and this is the Kentucky 74 distilled non-alcoholic spirit for bourbon cocktails.
Yes, so it is actually distilled, but it is spiritless. And I was like, wait a second,
Really?
how do you? I was like, how do you
explain.
How do you do that? So I got on their website, and I've got it pulled up here on the phone. So they actually go through a distillation process, and this is how they do it. They take high proof neutral grain. So they actually start with a neutral grain spirit.
Wow. Okay.
They take hand-selected American oak. So I'm guessing probably wood, like chips, or something like that. They mix it in.
Oh, now I can't wait to try
with the neutral grain spirit.
Okay.
And then step 2, they do a thermal extraction. So they use pressure and heat. And basically they try to recreate what happens in the barrel in their tanks or whatever by using pressure and heat.
They put it in an Instapot.
Yeah, in an Instant Pot. Yeah, exactly. Or Instant Pot. That's a good point. Yeah. So they're manipulating the effects, trying to extract everything out of that oak into that neutral grain.
Right, and at this point it's still alcohol, right?
It's still actual alcohol.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then they cool it down.
Okay.
And then they actually do what they call reverse distillation, but it's just a distillation process. So they actually take that neutral grain spirit and they distill it. But what they do is the alcohol, evaporates, it comes off the still. They collect that separately. What's left over after all the alcohol is taken out is what this is.
All right.
So then they take batch after batch of this leftover and they blend it. And then that's how they come up with what they put out. And then they take that alcohol.
I respect the process.
It's interesting, right? So they take the alcohol that they've distilled off, and then they use that as their neutral grain spirit for the next batch. So like they do the distillation process.
Oh,
They
right.
capture
That's
the alcohol off, somewhere else in a tank. And then they use that again. They put more oak in that, and then they go through the whole process again. So this is...
So you're like a master of bourbon, and now you're kind of mastering
a master of
non-bourbon
not bourbon. Yeah.
That's great. Well, should we start with
I think
neat pour?
Let's start with the neat
Okay.
pour, Matt.
Okay.
Yeah, so we've got it poured up. I'll give it away. We're going to we poured it up neat, and then we also, Mark was nice enough, we decided we are going to feature in each round also a cocktail.
These gorgeous cocktails.
Absolutely.
Look at you. I love this.
So we thought it'd be fun. First, we will go through our review process of it neat, just the non-spirit spirit as it is, and then we'll talk about it in a cocktail and how it plays in the cocktail.
Yeah. Matt, what do you get? You were sniffing it down there while I was going through the distillation process.
I pick up a lot of like cinnamon, brown sugar, kind of paprika. It's got a smoky nose.
Yeah.
This is going to sound really weird, but all the flavors combined on the nose to me, this smells exactly like baked beans.
Okay, a baked
Dang it!
beans.
Now I can't unsmell the baked beans.
no.
It's so
Roll that beautiful bourbon footage.
yes, but think it's got like
It does.
cinnamon,
It does.
sort of like
It's the-
molasses. There's sweetness to it. Definitely the oak, so like the smokiness of it. But to me,
And I don't know that there's additive. I mean, they say they put the oak in with that neutral grain and then reverse distill it. Nothing on the website says we add sugar or we add this.
Oh, right.
So I don't see anything on the website that says it. Matt, do you see anything on the label that expresses anything added to it other than just the
natural flavors.
Oh, so they do. So there is some flavoring added.
Natural
Well, we're not trying to
flavors.
call it bourbon anyway, right?
Right,
So-
sure. So they can do it.
Yes.
So
Okay.
so they add some things in. But Matt, it is kind of funny because we have something that we're going to do next round that is by the same company, and it is their cinnamon whiskey or whiskey alternative. So, but I am picking up a lot of cinnamon initially off of this as well. You know, and some of the reviews, things I've seen people talk about is like, oh, they're all oak. It's just oak, oak, oak. And I really don't get like an oakiness off of this, but I do get a little smokiness, like you said, Matt, probably from that. I'm assuming they probably use charred oak of some form in that initial process where they're extracting the flavor. So I'm assuming it's some kind of charred oak that they're using in that process. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't smell. I've never smelled this before. I was expecting it to be hideous. So it's not hideous. It's just not necessarily really what I think, you know, when you think of bourbon. What do you think, Rebecca?
Well, I've how can I say it? I've approached the glass as if it was going to be alcohol hitting my nose really hard.
yeah.
And then I remembered that I didn't have to worry about that.
God, it's so
So
smooth.
then I was like,
There's no burn whatsoever. Oh wait, there really is no burn whatsoever.
But it's the vanilla is what hit me first.
Okay.
Like almost like a true vanilla bean, and then it'd make a delicious candle.
yeah, that's funny you should say that. I was actually
Were you
thinking like
thinking
this has kind of like
Candle potential.
more candle like potpourri type.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the
potential.
caramel too, like the caramel with that kind of toasted note in the back, like that's what I was getting primarily. Can't wait to try this.
Now, go ahead and try it.
All right.
Because I tried it. Should we talk about the palate as well now, or what do you think? Let's talk about Rebecca, because we've talked about this long enough. We can come back and talk some more about the
But I
palate
have to tell
before-
you, so obviously we're used to the bite, right, of a spirit at the end, and of course that's not really there, but there is a nice like little acidic thing happening at the end.
There's something
which is-
happening. I'm not sure what it is.
I think definitely the smokiness is there.
There's really something happening.
There's really something.
I can't wait to edit this video. As you
Is
were
it like
talking,
bourbon that's
and
like
I took my first sip, and I just know what my face is going to look like on the video. My reaction. I was trying to hide the reaction, but it
That's
was
hilarious.
it was
Does it taste
impossible.
like bourbon after you've drank, after the ice has gotten into it and it's like super watered down? No.
not to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
You think it does? Okay.
Thanks, Matt.
I can see exactly
Okay.
where you're saying this would be like.
I just don't drink a lot of bourbon on the rocks, so I wouldn't know. And then when I do, I drink it fast enough that the ice doesn't
Yes,
melt.
this would be like you forgot about it, and the next morning,
Okay, you come up,
find
you
it,
get-
and
okay.
you're like,
Do we
All right.
know, are these companies, because we're going to try some other ones today, correct?
Sure. Yeah.
So I think, are these companies really promoting this as like, hey, you should try this neat or on the rocks? Or is
No.
this something that they're encouraging
Cocktail.
like in cocktails?
It's
okay.
and they're both of the companies that we've got. It's all about cocktails on their websites.
yeah. So on the bottle here it says Spiritless, all the flavor and feels of your favorite bourbon whiskey. Go halvesies and pair with bourbon to lower the alcohol by
Yeah.
volume and
Oh,
So you
calories.
mix real bourbon
brilliant.
with yeah.
Go
Yes.
totally spiritless to enjoy without alcohol. We believe less is yes. Enjoy all day, every day, and any time of day. Contains less than 0.05 alcohol by volume.
There you go. So I mean, obviously there is a touch, but it's nothing. It's
And
I
right
like
on
it.
the
It's like
front-
bitters.
On the
Yeah.
front it says distilled non-alcoholic spirit for bourbon cocktails.
there you go.
Okay. Okay.
So
Got
it
it.
is made.
Got
for
it.
so
Okay, that makes me
cocktails.
feel a little bit better.
Yeah, me too.
It's because
it's-
that's hard to sell as,
It's
but
not.
it's an
It's not
alternative,
a neat.
right?
I mean, we can all three say obviously this is not something you would drink neat or put over ice and drink neat. Not at all. I mean, it's just...
But at the same time, interesting to get the nose on that.
Sure.
And to try. I'm excited to try your amazing cocktail.
The nose does not match the palate.
No.
And finish.
No.
Because the nose was actually decent. I'd be like, oh yeah, it's not bourbon, but it's like, oh, it's sweet cinnamon. And then the flavor was just like, I don't know how to describe that. But yeah. So let's talk about you, Rebecca. Let's talk about who you are.
Can I sip my cocktail?
Yeah, go ahead and sip. Yeah, if you want to do that. You've got carte blanche to do.
I like it. I like the orange on it's fantastic.
Yeah, I used orange bitters. So basically all I did was like 2 ounces of the bourbon mix, the mocktail.
So we are drinking the mocktails of the old fashioned.
This is the old fashioned,
yes.
Correct, thank you. Yeah, so I use simple syrup that I'd already made, and then a few dashes of orange bitter, and then obviously I think it was 2 ounces of the Spiritless Kentucky 75.
Yeah.
And then my
74,
sorry, Luxardo cherry, of course, and just an orange garnish there.
So before I talk about myself,
yes,
I do want to mention one of my favorite things. Like if I go out, my go-to mocktail, believe it or not, is just a Virgin Bloody Mary. Because honestly, when I'm drinking a Bloody Mary, I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I can kind of tell that there's a spirit in it, but it's really a nice kind of go-to. I like all the other things about a Bloody Mary too. So just, that's my favorite. And I especially like it when I'm not made to feel like I just ordered tomato juice in a glass.
Right.
And that there are gorgeous things also on that glass, like the things that clue you into what would normally be a spirited cocktail, like olives or citrus or something like that. And that is what I love about your cocktail. I mean, look how beautiful that is with the orange and the cherry.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, it is about the experience, right?
Right.
And that, I guess that sort of leads into talking about my adventures in life, just trying to create experiences for people. I've designed restaurants for 20 years, which is nuts.
Crazy,
wow.
yeah.
That is crazy. Awesome. And through doing that, and I think this is something, we talked off camera a little bit about, what's changing and what we're going to do in 2024. But I think, experiential design, I don't know when that came about, or now it came about. How can I say that? I don't know when I changed my focus from like, oh, I'm designing places to, oh, I'm designing experiences.
Yeah, right.
I guess it's just something that happened in my professional development, but also I feel like what was happening around me with like the development of the Bourbon Trail and to further that, and I think hopefully a lot of your listeners have been to the Stave, thank you. And I think it's really very sweet, and it's very humbling for me as a designer and architect to sit in the Stave and have receive guests, and when they come in, they're like, wow, like what is this place?
Awesome.
And I've had people, this is really sweet, again, like come in and they're like, where am I? Because they're thinking they just ran up on this, and it is like this little tiny, non-assuming old metal building that I tried to zhuzh up as much as possible. But really, we wanted to present Kentucky. That's what we want to do with the Stave. And so whether that's through bourbon or through food, and then have people come in and be in wonderment about how in the world is this little place like packed full of bourbon, because we're 900 square feet and it is just bourbon everywhere.
Everywhere. It is. I agree.
Bourbon and some really good wines. But it is a fun experience. Of course, as your listeners probably know, if they've been there, the kitchen's wide open. So it's about the food.
Yep.
It's about the food and the bourbon together, and that experience of, I think we're all looking at this. A lot of these fantastic, we're so lucky to have all these amazing chefs that we do in Lexington and in Kentucky that are all, if they're choosing this cuisine, to really be asking, like, what is Kentucky cuisine? And my background being German, I'm always kind of looking at the foods that I grew up with and how that relates to Appalachia and how that relates to Kentucky. And of course, the chefs have taught me a ton about those things too. So I kind of geek out about the food as well as the bourbon. And then, of course, the experience, which I think is all of it. It's in how I design the menus, literally down to the typeset that I use, the font, and just everything designed together. Really,
well, and I think it's
just
really,
like a cocktail.
I think, good point. I mean, but I think it's really cool how passionate you are about what you do, and you can see that when you go to the Stave. I mean, it's just great. I mean, you're very passionate about your projects, and even working for other people, because you have done work, restaurant design and things, and you can really feel that when you go in, and you can see that passion that you have, but the passion for Kentucky, the passion for that. And we talked to Wita about this as well. You know, that sense of community developing. It's not a restaurant. It is building a sense of community and bringing people in and making them feel welcome. And you do a wonderful job at that. So that's really unique. Thank you.
And it's funny, as a designer, I don't know why this is a thing for me, but I really want people to come into these spaces and feel special, right? Yeah. And feel like they've gone to someplace special and not just, I've gone to someone's living room, right? So right. I promise I'm not snooty about design. I just want everything to be beautiful. but I do want, you know, whether it's someone creating a diner, right? And what our romantic feelings are about diners, or nostalgic maybe is a better word.
Right.
Nostalgic feeling about diners, like how can I capture that and do something new at the same time? Which is very, I think, emotional and you know, evoke nostalgia like that's right. A challenge.
Sure.
So I don't know where I'm going with that. Just, you know, to try to create an experience, or to try to make each place like walk in and present itself when you walk in. I think that's the challenge, right? Like even my friend's place in Otaka, to walk in and realize this is a fantastic wine bar. You know, immediately be greeted by the selections and the sparkle of glass and all the things that you would see in a wine bar. That was one of my favorites. I have many favorites, but that I just have so much fun. And even I'm not doing as much architecture now, but I would say I still have the same sense of fulfillment in the design of the experience of each and every day in restaurant world.
Yeah.
It's really fantastic.
That's
and
awesome.
The characters are amazing.
Yeah.
Right? Like all the chefs, all the...
Yeah.
Yes.
And I mean of all the restaurants. Like I just am always enamored by what everybody does and how they put their experiences together.
That's very
incredible.
Cool. Speaking of architecture, we're going to have to get you down here in the Bourbon Life basement to do some serious rehabilitation.
It's fun. It's a beautiful place.
And
Thank you.
Work on here for sure. So Matt, let's jump back to our cocktail. We've talked about the...
Well, do we want to talk about the taste, the palate of the Kentucky 74, or?
I think people, well, sure, go ahead.
The nose was really nice.
Yeah.
The palate, I picked up a lot of orange
I did
on
get
the palate,
citrus,
and then just bitter.
Bitter?
To me, really bitter, almost like the bitterness of the orange peel.
Oh.
Like that.
I know what you're talking about. Wait, was that on the neat pour?
Yeah.
Yeah, on the neat pour, there was something, and it was almost like, I don't know if it was the tannins from oak extracted as well, but man, just a lot of bitterness on that, and just obviously there's not like a full mouth feel. It's like you talked about bourbon that had set in the glass and the ice had melted.
Yeah.
I mean, on the palate, it just feels like a glass of water or a mouthful of water, but very bitter water.
And to be fair, I think we chose an old fashioned to make to use it in, and an old fashioned doesn't have some of the stronger cocktail elements like a citrus juice, you know, or something that'd be really strong, or an herbaceous type thing going on. But but that's fair to try this in, right?
Have you tried the cocktail? Because I know you're. So what do you think about it?
So I guess my head immediately went to, are we judging these based on, do we really feel like this is an old fashioned?
Yeah.
Like, is it an acceptable substitute? But that's when my head went to, what do I even like about, what do I want a mocktail to be? Right? Do I just want it to be pretty and I'm just sitting here like, you know, this is amazing.
Yeah.
But, or am I I'll be honest, I think sometimes with a mocktail, I'm expecting a little bite too.
Okay.
I think there's a couple elements like ginger that will do that. I think when I go out to a place and I'm like, hey, will you make me a mocktail? Can you include ginger beer in that? Which is not typically, we say beer, but it's not alcoholic, of course. I know most of your listeners know that. But it's, I need that kind of bite at the end. And I am missing that a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think the prettiness of it, I could probably get away with this, right? It's got a nice little sweetness to it with the simple.
Does. I mean, it does. So, it's got that cinnamon, that bite that kind of comes through up from the nose. The citrus obviously is in there. I used orange bitters. I'm wondering if maybe I should have just used regular bitters.
Maybe like the regular Angostura bitters.
I have those, and I didn't use
provided like a little bit more of that bitter cut, that bite.
Yeah.
But I think that the Kentucky 74, what we were tasting with that bitter taste on the palate, I think that actually plays well in a cocktail, because oftentimes cocktails you're mixing with really sweet ingredients.
Too sweet. Mm-hmm.
So I think I could see this maybe being designed or having some thought process going into it to make it a little more bitter, to work better in the cocktail
That's
setting,
a really
to
great
cut
point.
through that sugar. Like think of something sweet, like mixing it with like the ginger beer in a mule or something.
Right.
If this were really sweet.
I mean, that's kind of the problem of most mocktails. Like you said, it really is.
Yeah,
Even the other night, I went out to a local brewery. Of course, I'm at a local brewery during dry January. I can't expect anything. I'm just there to drink water. But I was very grateful that they offered me, what was it, like just grenadine, orange juice, and Sprite. And I was like, whew. I'm like, can you replace the Sprite with soda? So it is funny that our instinct is to go like, well, here's all the sweet things in life. Since you can't drink. But I actually got an extra glass of soda from them as well, and just kept cutting it because my palate does not. I don't like super sweet things. So that was hard.
So what do you think? I mean,
I actually think for the mocktail, I think it works well. I think it has a lot of flavor and characteristics of an old fashioned. I think, like Rebecca was saying, like that bite, the alcohol.
Sure.
Part of what I love about an old fashioned is the first couple sips before the ice really starts to melt or anything. When you're just like, it's hot. It's almost like too warm, too bitter, too much punch right at the start, and I like that.
Yeah.
But then as it melts and everything starts to come together more, and you get that great old fashioned. But I think this does pretty well for a non-alcoholic mocktail.
I do too. And old fashions are probably my favorite cocktail. I mean, it doesn't taste, exactly like a bourbon old fashioned, but it definitely has good flavor to it. I mean, I can see myself using this as a substitute if you're out and you feel like you want, it's like I want to have a drink, but I don't want to drink alcohol.
Yeah.
Then this would, I think, be a really acceptable substitute.
I think so too.
You think so? You like that?
I think so too.
Yeah.
Like I said, not probably acceptable in a plain glass with ice.
Yeah,
but I still like my little decor on it.
Yeah, you got
right? I feel
fancy,
special today.
The fancy little pen. I already ate my Luxardo cherry. Gosh, those are so good. So, all right. Well, so let's
cheers.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Cheers.
Cheers all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it works.
I agree.
In the old fashioned.
I agree.
See no problem with it being very open and honest about it being a distilled non-alcoholic spirit for bourbon cocktails. I think it makes a good non-alcoholic mocktail.
Yeah, it makes a good non-alcoholic old fashioned for sure. So we've got a couple other things that we're going to try. We got two more rounds to go, right? So we're at the end of round one. So why don't we take a quick break?
Okay.
If that'll work. And then, because we're going to go make another cocktail.
This is hilarious too, because we'll still feel the same after the third cocktail.
I know, that's what's going to be really weird. It's like I'm drinking, but then I'm like,
you're not.
I'm not drinking. So how am I supposed to feel at the end of the show?
I'm not going to have any excuse to like go home and eat a bunch of chips or something.
No, it's like, dang, I'm going to feel
binge
good.
eating after this episode.
I'm going to have to get up early in the morning. I don't have an excuse, right? All right. There you go.
Also, tune in for the re-entry episode at the beginning of February, right?
Oh, mercy.
Yeah, we can talk about that next round for sure. So, all right, let's take a quick break, get a word from our sponsors, and we'll be back with more with Rebecca Burnworth from the Stave and District 7 Social in just a minute.
The Stave Restaurant is a bourbon lover's paradise right here in the heart of bourbon country.
Located at 5711 McCracken Pike in Millville, Kentucky, between Castle and Key and Woodford Reserve, Chef Kyle Klatka prepares amazing food each day that features an elevated Kentucky-inspired cuisine. With a full-service bar, great bourbon flights, and signature cocktails, the Stave is the perfect place to catch up with friends after a fun-filled day of touring the local distilleries. Be sure to check them out online at thestavekentucky.com or at Instagram and Facebook at The Stave Kentucky. Three Chord's line of whiskeys embody the spirit of creativity. The whiskey is a true collaboration between producer and composer Neil Giraldo and master blender distiller Ari Sussman. The Three Chord team of expert blenders, coopers, and sensory professionals have developed a multi-step process they called Perfectly Tuned Taste. This process begins by carefully selecting the finest bourbon and rye whiskeys from Kentucky, Tennessee, and Indiana, and then blending them together. Find out more about the whiskeys and distribution in your area at www.threechordbourbon.com.
All right, everybody, welcome back for dry round 2 of the Bourbon Life Podcast. I'm your host, Mark, and with me here live in the Bourbon Life studios, it's my good friend, Matt. Matt, how you doing down there at the end of the table?
I am remarkably sober tonight, Mark. How are you?
I am painfully sober this evening. 9th of January, we're recording this, and so we've made it almost a third of the way through the month, Matt.
We're clipping it right off.
Yeah. Last year I caved in. Well, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, we're having a good time. We are the Bourbon Life Podcast, presented by Liquor Barn. We appreciate them. We appreciate all of our sponsors who take care of us, so we couldn't do the show without their help and support. So we really appreciate everything they do for us. So we're having a fun show tonight with one of my favorite people, and we're doing something a little bit different at her suggestion, which is a lot of fun.
Is it all my fault?
It is your fault, yeah. So
right.
There is like no fault involved. How do you have a bourbon podcast and do dry January and still expect good content?
Exactly
and
right.
this is perfect.
It is
because
we've never done spirit.
We've never done this, and this is trending right now.
It is.
I was going to say, I feel like this year more than ever, people are like, give us a mocktail menu.
Yeah.
Not just like, hey, do you have one or two? It's like,
and you
we want
absolutely
the
see
full
this
menu.
as a restaurateur.
Yeah.
And
Well, tell everybody who we have with us before we jump into the conversation, Matt.
Oh, well,
I forgot to do that.
going back to Rebecca Burnworth from the Stave and District 7 Social here in Lexington, and we are discussing all things mocktail right now.
Mocktail, spiritless spirits.
Yeah, spiritless spirits.
So we have, and what we are trying this round before we forget.
Thank you, Matt.
Is again with the Spiritless brand, the Kentucky 74, but this is their non-alcoholic cinnamon whiskey. Again, distilled non-alcoholic spirit for whiskey cocktails.
Yep.
And so we are going to be trying it neat, just poured up in our Glencairns, and then Mark was also so nice and so kind to make us the Spiritless Stone Fence.
Nice, Matt. Remembered the name. I was looking it up.
Well, it's right. Actually, it's right here on the hang tag of the bottle, so don't give me too much credit.
I was like, dang, man.
But this would be 2 ounces of our Spiritless Kentucky 74 spiced cinnamon whiskey, a dash of bitters.
Real bitters, Angostura. Yep.
Real Angostura.
Yep.
And 4 ounces apple cider, garnished with a nice, beautiful apple wedge.
A nice, beautiful apple wedge on
Nice.
there. Yeah. So, so this is something, again, I just thought, I was looking at the options, and there's not a lot of whiskey alternative, bourbon alternatives, right, that I saw on the shelf. I mean, it was the Spiritless 74, it was this one, and then the next one we're going to do in the next round as well. Mm-hmm. But they actually had some brands that were like the Spiritless rum, Spiritless. Well, they can't call it tequila, but an agave type of spirit as well. So there are other alternatives out there that are spiritless. I didn't want to get, because I'm not going to do the tequila imitation just because we're the Bourbon Life. So I wanted to try to stick to the whiskey. But these were the ones that I saw on the shelf. I don't know if there's other brands out there. There could be, but these were the 2 big ones.
I feel like I've heard of another one maybe called like Monday or something.
I don't know.
Before.
Yeah, Mondays are bad enough. I can't imagine drinking an alcoholless Monday. I mean, that just like sums up your. It's like,
or who knows? Maybe it's called Sunday.
It could be Sunday.
I don't.
Oh, now that'd be a good name, right?
But this whole non-alcoholic movement is really taking foot.
Yeah.
Non-alcoholic beer used to just be O'Doul's.
O'Doul's.
Like St.
Caliber. When I was in college, there was one called Caliber.
I'll tell you guys a story, and this will mention someone else, but I went into a local place. You tell me if I should mention that. Carries a lot of beer, right? You can either sit down on the couches and try beer, or you can get stuff off the shelf. And I was pregnant at the time, and I went and sat down, and I said to my friend who runs the bar, I said, "Do you have any non-alcoholic beer?" And he said, "No, Rebecca, this is a place that serves beer. This is not a place for non-alcoholic beer." And that stayed true at that same location until his wife got pregnant. And now they carry NA beer.
Nice. Yeah.
Which I thought was great. And I actually went there last night with a friend and was again thinking, oh my gosh, I just went to a beer place and here I am dry January, but I forgot they have NA beer now. And so I do think that is definitely, like I said, for us as the Stave and District 7, we are getting a lot more requests for a diverse selection of mocktails, spiritless spirits, and NA beer and wine.
Yeah, and which is crazy because I was a bartender 30-some years ago. You know, it's just all about people wanting to drink and totally different life, totally different world back then 30 years ago, right? I mean, everybody just wanted you to pour them a beer or pour them a shot. Nobody was sipping.
That was like back when you could smoke in a McDonald's, right?
It was, Matt. Yes, you could smoke anywhere. Back it was the 80s, but yes, you could still smoke.
Changed a little bit.
Pretty much anywhere you wanted to smoke or do whatever you wanted to do. But yeah, so that's interesting though that people are actually asking and saying, yes, we want these now. It's interesting to me. You know, how big, if that movement is big, but you're obviously seeing it, right?
Yeah,
so.
I think I hate to say this, but at District 7, I think we even got kind of a bad review because at the time we didn't have any NA beer, and we have this self-serve beer wall, right?
Right.
So you can go get, and my husband makes the selections, not that I'm faulting him or blaming him, but I think he didn't even occur to him like, well, hey, it's not really beer, kind of like my favorite beer place, my local beer place thought. But I think because we are getting so many requests for it, and the nice thing is I don't have to get that through a distributor, it's NA. Right? So it's not regulated by the same authorities. So I can just go to the grocery store and pick out. But I do want, because, you know, we are kind of a classy place, we wanted to make sure that we had good selections of things. And so we've been working on finding those things and kind of essentially answering that review by doing that. So
very cool.
And,
Matt,
and the needs. I think there's just a lot of people asking.
Yeah.
So
Matt, what are you picking up? I see you nosing this cinnamon. This is the cinnamon spiritless spirit, the cinnamon whiskey.
Cinnamon spiritless spirit. It definitely...
Is it nose time?
Nosing.
Definitely has that cinnamon.
Right.
But it's not it doesn't smell like a fake cinnamon.
Not at all.
There are some cinnamon flavored whiskeys that I think smell really fake.
Sure.
This to me I think Mark, you were remarking off air, like very cinnamon stick, like just very like a fresh cinnamon stick. To me, it's also got nutmeg in it as well. And I think you mentioned something about the grain. It smells like it has cereal grain notes, like cinnamon life.
It does.
Cereal to me. I think the nose of this really comes across like not the Cinnamon Toast Crunch that we all find with Amberana, but there are like some cinnamon cereal notes.
Yeah. Rebecca, what about you? What do you pick up in terms of...
Well, I meant to mention on the previous Spiritless Spirit that from this same company, I kept getting a dough type flavors. I kicked it like, or not flavor, but that scent of just like a bread dough. I have been making pizza dough. Hint, some things might be happening there, but we've been really testing pizza dough, so maybe I'm a little ruined by that. But that, when you said cereal grains, that reminded me, I did sense that. And the other one, this one, the cinnamon is just, I don't know. It takes it, for me, I can't smell past that. But it's great though. Like you're right, it's cinnamon stick. It's not kind of a fake, you know, Trident cinnamon gum type scent.
Yeah, which again, I was expecting, I'm thinking.
It's actually really good.
I do like the nose on it, yeah. So what do you want to do? You're tasting it already. I've tasted it. Rebecca,
I like this better than the other one.
I'll agree.
Neat.
I agree.
I think this one's actually...
More balanced?
Balanced and drinkable. I could actually... Not that the other one wasn't drinkable, but there was just such that acrid bitter.
There was a lot of bitterness to
taste
that one.
that was like almost hard to get past the tip of the tongue. This actually is, I find it a little warm on the back of my throat. I don't want to say the palate, but it almost like kind of tastes like cinnamon tea.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's thin.
Yeah.
Obviously, like the other one. I mean, obviously there's no alcohol, right? Yeah. So there's no the oils and things like that aren't in there. So it's almost like a cinnamon. Well, I was gonna say cinnamon water. You said cinnamon tea, but I mean, it's very cinnamony, and that it lasts. But there's not that bitterness, Matt. Like you talked. Look, he drained it, man. He's like done.
It's not bad.
Yeah. I like the heat that you said. I think that's the kind of, I like that as a replacement for that bite at the end that alcohol usually gives. And I think that is a reasonable replacement for that.
I mean, as a neat whiskey drinker, I still don't think this is something I'd be like, I'm going to pour this up and drink it neat. As a substitute, to me, it just doesn't, it's like I'm drinking a cinnamon flavored, a naturally cinnamon flavored, so I like the flavor, but it's not to me like, oh yeah, this is going to replace me drinking an Elijah Craig.
I wouldn't mind this on not as a replacement, but I wouldn't mind this on the rocks with like maybe an apple slice or something.
Yeah. Okay.
But the other one I couldn't do that.
The other one not at all.
Like.
This one I will agree. This one's much more drinkable than the other one. There's no question about it. So Rebecca, we're talking about kind of the trends in terms of the mocktails and things. I mean, like Matt said earlier, you're right there in the thick of things. I mean, you're between Woodford Reserve, Castle and Key. You're out in Millville.
Yeah.
It's a small community, but you're only like 15 minutes from Lexington. So, and you're not that far, 35 minutes from Louisville. I mean, so you see a lot of people coming through on the Bourbon Trail. So what have you seen in terms of trends? Are there other things or other? I mean, have you seen the tourism continuing from your end of things?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because how can I say this? I mean, from my point of view as the Stave, we were slow at first, of course, because nobody knew we were even there.
Right.
And so we'd always joke, we're like, well, we're in the middle of nowhere, but we're sneakily in the middle of everywhere.
Right.
Because we're only, 15 minutes from Midway, Versailles, and Frankfurt.
Yeah.
If that, and then just 30 minutes outside Lexington, like you said, just a little ways from Louisville. We often have people meet. If they're from Lexington and Louisville, they'll meet at the Stave.
Yeah, I've done it before.
Yeah. So I think, I'm a little ruined by that, but I would say, we kind of really like hit the ground running in 2019. We started in June of 2018. 2019 we had a great year. Nice growth for us, steady. And I'll never forget this. I should tell this story. In March of 2020, a very good friend of mine, a carpenter friend, was helping me build more benches into the treehouse. And if you don't know what the treehouse is at the Stave, it is our kind of huge, we're in a floodplain, so we actually we wanted to build a deck out by the creek, Glens Creek, which is all of, Woodford Reserve, Castle and Key, Glens Creek Distillery, we're all in Glens Creek. And we wanted to build a deck out by there, and of course we had to build it 8 foot off the ground, which puts you in the trees, but it was because of the floodplain.
Gotcha.
And someone lovingly called it the treehouse one time, and it stuck. So the treehouse, you'll have to edit that out. I forget what I was going to say. Shoot.
She's not even drinking.
I'm not. Maybe I should.
No, that's all right.
Let's see. We were talking about the treehouse being in the middle of nowhere, Glens Creek.
Yeah, and now I forgot where you're going with that, Rebecca. But that's okay. I mean, we're just talking about. You're talking about 2019, and you're talking about 2020. You had your carpenter come in to help you.
Okay, so I'll jump back in there.
Yeah, we got it. We're good. We're all right.
So here we are in March of 2020, and we're building more seating onto the treehouse. My friend is up there. I'm going up to say, how's it going? Check on him. And I get a call, and it was Castle and Key. And this is March, I think it was the 13th.
Yeah.
And he said, or maybe even the 12th. It was right around the shutdown for the state of Kentucky. And he said, someone from Castle and Key, John, and John said, Rebecca, I hate to tell you this, but we're closing today. And I said, I don't know what that means. What do you mean? And he said, we're closing. And I'm like, well, when are you reopening? Like, why are you closing? And this is before no one had gotten the news that we were maybe supposed to do that. And they were very much coming from, of course, a very caring standpoint of this is what we feel like we have to do to protect everybody. And I said, well, what about Woodford? And they said they're closing Monday. And I was like, oh my gosh, wow, what a change. So from that moment on, we were like, what in the world are we going to do? And here we were expecting our second year to be taking off. And I think, and we talked a little bit off camera about this, I think for the past 3 years, we've just been kind of, I hate to say surviving, but yes, like surviving and making it through.
I think you're right. Exactly.
100%. And you had mentioned that as well. And I think I do feel like there's so many people. I mean, I had this moment of, do I want to continue in all the entrepreneurial things that I'm doing, or do I want to pick a few and run with them? Maybe just 3 or 4. I don't know.
Maybe just 3 or 4 of that 18 that I'm involved in.
But at least try to evaluate, hey, what am I doing?
Yeah.
What is successful? And of course, being you had asked about the Bourbon Trail, we saw the customer change quite a bit, and I think that was hard. There was a time I think we all endured a little bit of trauma through this, whether you thought it was the worst thing that ever happened or whether you thought it was BS. I think just the jolt of society changing so much just for that moment or for moments after, I think caused a little bit of trauma for a lot of people, more than we want to admit. And I think we saw that in our customers.
Yeah.
As we came out of it, it was really difficult to give good service. One, because we were incredibly short-staffed.
Right.
And let me tell you, that short-staffing happened as it was happening. Like, we didn't even realize we were entering into that phase until we were in the middle of it, and we were like, oh man.
Yeah.
We can't find anyone. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
I mean, I had customers telling me that I should shut down my restaurant, that I should shut down a particular section. And I tried to, I hope I gave the most grace that I possibly could. There were times where I probably did not. I think we just understood that everybody was kind of just different, traumatized, hurt maybe in some sort of way, but still out there trying to do normal things and trying to figure out what that is. Yeah. And here we were, short-staffed as hell,
I know, yeah.
Also trying to do the same thing. And so I think after that, through those 3 years of like coming up out of where we were, I really feel like 2024, I just so far have seen just in this first, what's the date? 9 days, the first 9 days of January. I feel like I've got a lot of friends just completely regrouping.
Yeah.
And really, how can I say? There's so many things that fascinate me, I think, just as Rebecca. I'm fascinated by AI and what that's going to do to our society, and not scared.
Right.
I'm all in. Like, let's figure this out.
Yeah, how we can use it. Right.
Yeah, I think there's some brilliant, especially like in medical terms, and can we cure cancer? Like that.
Right.
I'm so fascinated. But and also, what are the younger generations going to do with their time and their development of AI and things like that? So sorry, I feel like I'm getting away from the Bourbon Trail a little bit.
You have carte blanche to talk about whatever, but
I do feel like the customers are maybe to some degree also regrouping. We're trying to figure out what that's going to be, right? Like that's what we're trying to do is read what people want and give that to them. So it's always a challenge. But in 2024, I don't know. I just get a sense that it's people regrouping to seize the day instead of just survive.
Right? I agree, and we talked about that before we started.
As I sip my amazing
cocktail. We definitely. I haven't even
Mm-hmm.
tasted it yet, but I mean, we did talk about that, and I agree that for me, I feel like this year so far, 9 days in, maybe it's because I'm sober. I don't know, but
we're realizing so many things.
It seems different. I mean, it's different, but I did dry January. I tried to last year. We'll have 15 or 16 days. We caved Stacy and I caved on a crew episode together that one night. I can't remember. We made it part of the way. Year before, I made it all the way, and then recorded on February 1st with King's Family Distillery down in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and got absolutely snookered there. And that was, it was like the first day off the wagon again. It was like not a pretty sight at all. So, and I forgot where I was going with that, Matt. So let's talk about the cocktail, because we've
cocktail it is. Yeah. What do we got?
What do you get, Matt? What do you think, man?
I think it mixes well. Admittedly, I'm not the largest fan of apple cider.
Right, yeah.
But I think it works. I think the cinnamon whiskey adds some heat to it.
Yeah.
Of course, apples and cinnamon are a combination made in heaven. So I think it works well in there.
I like your tea comment about the neat pour, because I feel like my mom used to make this incredible concoction of like, I think it was like hibiscus tea, cinnamon, and apple cider. And it was fantastic. She served it hot with fresh cinnamon sticks in it. But this reminds me of it because a tea type flavor is one that, I hate to say, is a little watered down by nature. Like, right? We're just drinking kind of flavored water.
Yeah, right.
But it does have that kind of flavor to it. Like that, what am I looking for? That...
just that combination of spices to it as well. Yeah, I mean, it's that spicy. There's one, I can't remember, it's a blend from Trader Joe's, and it's got like these little foxes on it, and I love it. It's like the fall blend or whatever.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love it because it has a combination of spices like this. And I've always thought, boy, that would be great with apple cider. I think this would be great hot. I would love for a wintertime drink.
True.
And maybe even throw, I mean, it's already sweet, but I might.
You want it to be a hot toddy, don't you?
Yeah, I might even throw a little honey
in there, some lemon.
Maybe a little lemon on it instead of the apple wedge.
Yeah.
But I'm impressed with the way this is blended up, and it's a fun little cocktail for the summertime. I think this would, for me, it'd be great because I love apple cider. I mean, obviously you got to watch your calorie intake with that, right? But I think having one of these just as a refresher. Yeah, I mean, I think you're gonna get that fun experience. Like I said before, it's not exactly a bourbon cocktail, but it makes you feel like you're drinking, right? So if you're with people and you're doing something and everybody else is drinking,
it's the apple slice.
It's the apple slice. Yeah. That's what it is.
What it's got to be.
Yeah. So
and the fancy glass.
I kind of like the fancy glass for sure. But yeah, I like this one. I'm pleasantly surprised. Even like you said, Matt, neat. I
think even the neat pour wasn't terrible.
No, I agree.
Not at all. It was.
Yeah. Can I just say the bottle is gorgeous, right? Like all of our distillery friends work so hard to find that perfect expression of their expression, the perfect bottle, the perfect cork, the perfect lid, right? For that cork.
Right.
All of those things. I think it looks like a well thought out product.
But that's the thing. Go ahead, Matt.
I was to echo what you're saying, Rebecca. It's nice to see the company really putting money into that, because they could just put this in like a plastic,
a white can.
More like in anything like, well, it's not alcoholic, everybody's going to overlook it anyway, but like they're taking pride. It's got a nice label on it. It really stands out. Beautiful red colors with the gold on this one. Like it's really appealing to the eye. Good bottle, nice feel to it.
I agree 100%. I mean, they've really put effort into that, and I think they very easily could have said, like you said, Matt, it's a non-alcoholic. Nobody's going to want it. Why try to upscale it? But they obviously did it. So let's talk about fancy bottles and things like that. Let's talk about, because I mean, you buy the bottle, you make those decisions, right? So can you talk a little bit about that process of what it's like to buy for your?
Well, it's funny at the Stave. I think I relied on a lot of people, bar managers or chefs, and I eventually took it over. I think through COVID, I hate this to say, but we, again, with not being able to find people, we're constantly trying to make sure the Stave's okay and the service is fine, and kind of shifting people around to do that. And I think it became, I finally took over the ordering because my poor reps were like, well, who's this person? I talked to this person last time, and I'm like, you know what? I'm the owner. I'm just going to take care of this. And I think, and it's really a time management thing, right? Like I was not ordering it because I didn't want to, or I didn't know about the bourbon. I just didn't have the time. And so I made myself find the time and create those relationships with the reps to make sure that we're getting the products in that we want, which is still a challenge. The way that some people, are marketing their products and hitting the market and not hitting the market, and just doing different marketing practices, just create some shortages sometimes, and that we can't even conquer. But it's things that I try to do. I try to look for some really interesting single barrels, and that's, we are lucky that we have, I can either ask my reps, like, hey, is there anything interesting coming out? I love that my reps will bring me, right? EJ Curley, like coming in just came over to visit and said, hey, we really want you to try this. And we're lucky at the Stave, we're next to, some major distilleries. We get a lot of visitors that do have their own bourbons and come in and say, do you want to try this? So
nice.
Little samples and can make those decisions. So, but really just having interesting things on the shelf sometimes isn't the most popular thing that could be on the shelf. But I think just trying new brands, trying just kind of respecting what everybody's doing out there and just trying to pick what we can to have on the shelves. So,
yeah, and you've got a great selection. I mean, no doubt about it. You've got a wonderful selection out there. Anytime I go out there, I just sit there and look at the cage and the shelf and everything up, over top of the bar as well. I'm just looking and looking and looking. Like, yeah, there's some good stuff up there. You do a great job. There's no doubt about it. So
thank you.
That's really cool. Well, guys, we're actually at the end of round 2. Ooh. I know, isn't that fast? It's crazy.
Yeah.
How quickly that happened. So let's sum up on this one. The Spiritless 74 Cinnamon whiskey. The neat, doable. I probably wouldn't drink it, but at least much better than the original regular Spiritless. You guys agree?
Yeah.
But you said you might actually drink it, Rebecca.
Yeah, just with a little bit of a glass decor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. And then the cocktail, I'm a fan of the cocktail. Matt, I know you're not a cider guy, right? So
yeah, not huge on the cider, but I can see that it works well. It's good.
Yeah.
I just don't know if I would ever drink one of these given the choice.
Gotcha. Rebecca, what do you think?
The cocktail?
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Love it? Okay,
yeah.
awesome.
Like I said, it's kind of nostalgic. It reminds me of something, something
yes.
my mom used to make, but it's, I like it.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, guys, let's take a quick break, get a word from our sponsors. We'll be back with more with Rebecca Burnworth with the Stave and District 7 Social in just a minute.
From our good friends at the Stave comes Lexington's newest hotspot to meet up with friends, have fun, and eat some great food. District 7 Social is a social and beer hall, but it's a lot more than that. Located in Lexington's Distillery District, it's the home of Lexington's first duck pin bowling lanes, and it also features a self-serve beer wall. That's right, self-serve. And if you want more, they've got it. You can try one of their delicious cocktails from the bar or order some great German fusion food from their on-site eatery, Germanish. So what are you waiting for? Be seen, be social. District 7 Social.
All right, everybody, welcome back for the third and sadly final round of the Bourbon Life Podcast. I'm your host, Mark, and with me here live tonight in the Bourbon Life Studios, otherwise known as my basement, it's my good friend, Matt. Matt, how you doing down there, buddy?
Mark, I'm great. It's good to be around the table. We always say it, but it really is.
It is. We've got some great guests coming up. We got a great guest tonight, but 2024, we talked about this on the second round. Just feel like coming out guns blazing, man. Yeah. Just, getting great guests lined up. A lot of guests have agreed to come to the studio. So rather than us doing squadcasts, we're going to be bringing in lots of guests here live.
That's awesome.
It's just kind of working out that way, man. So I'm excited. 2024 is just 9 days in, off to a great start, stone cold sober. Other than that, though,
even though it's round 3,
we're off to a great start. Yeah,
that's right.
But we are the Bourbon Life Podcast, presented by Liquor Barn. We appreciate their sponsorship and all of our sponsors, like the Stave. Everything they do for us. We couldn't do the show without their help. So with that said, Matt, would you like to tell everybody who we have with us on that?
Absolutely. From the Stave Restaurant, District 7 Social, Lexington's very own Rebecca Burnworth.
Hello.
Rebecca, welcome back for our sad but true, and I'm looking forward to, final round of the Bourbon Life Podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spiritless, but not spiritless.
That's right. We've got a lot of spirit here tonight, don't we?
Spiritless, but not spirited.
Yeah. Yeah. So Matt, you want to tell everybody what we're going to drink on this round since you've been running the show here?
That's when there's no alcohol, no ABV value
Matt's
here. Matt runs the show. That's right. We are drinking the Ritual 0 Proof Whiskey Alternative.
Yep.
So again, like we were saying with the Kentucky 74 from Spiritless, nice glass bottle, good label. So again, they didn't just phone it in on that. So nice looking packaging. But this is the liquor replacement. All the oak, vanilla, caramel, and soul-warming heat of whiskey without the alcohol or calories. For when you're driving, dieting, training, making a baby, taking a break, staying up late, getting up early, or just have stuff to do.
All right.
There you go.
There it is.
All right, so
Ritual Whiskey Alternative.
Wow,
so this round
was very different.
We poured up a I made a Boulevardier, a mocktail Boulevardier. So Ritual also has this Aperitif alternative. So it's a combination of their whiskey alternative and the Aperitif alternative. This is actually made of, the ingredients: filtered water, cane sugar, natural flavors, citric acid, vegetable juice for color, xanthan gum, caramel color, stevia extract, interesting, sodium benzoate, and potassium something or other.
Got to keep it fresh.
Yeah, for preservatives, right? So there's a lot of stuff in here, obviously not distilled.
Yeah, so the biggest, I think, difference we're noticing is these are mixed
These
up.
are made. They're
water
not distilled.
and made. They are not distilled.
Right. And this is actually, I think, from Chicago, right? I think that's what I saw. Chicago.
Yeah.
I think I saw online. Now they didn't have anything about their process.
Chicago. Yes.
So this is from Chicago.
This neat pour is the whiskey
is the whiskey alternative.
So the one thing I'm going to just point out is the fact that this, if you can see it, I'm looking, is extremely cloudy.
Yes.
So it's visually, it's from a neat perspective. This is not. I mean, this was. Let's see. Is this the cinnamon? Yeah. This was the cinnamon. So that maybe is a little cloud to it, but not much. It looks almost like a regular bourbon.
Yeah, it does.
In the glass, right? When I look at this, I don't.
This
it looks like a flat
something gone wrong.
A flat blue moon. It looks like somebody left a blue moon in a Glencairn.
That's a good way to put it.
And it's flat, and it's got that cloudiness, or cougar bait. It has got that kind of cloudy thing to it. So Matt, what do you pick up in terms of the nose?
Oh, I can't wait to hear.
Oh, mercy.
Yeah.
Don't even burn your nose. Get it in there.
I get it right.
There's no alcohol to
deep
burn.
down in there. I'm not gonna say it's super pleasant right at the start of the nose. I think there's a lot of conflicting.
I don't know what.
Do you get like an apple cider vinegar?
Yes.
Okay.
So you get vinegary.
But do you also get mint?
Again, with like the conflicting.
Exactly.
Like there's definitely I picked up some apple, but there's.
But that the mintiness, that's
right?
That's a good call.
Almost like mint
like
and like
wintergreen?
Eucalyptus.
Yes.
I
can't wait to try this.
Okay.
I'm going to do it, and I'm not going to tell you guys what it tastes.
I'm just saying, going back to the Spiritless Kentucky 74, the first one, no, I didn't. I mean, the nose was okay. The second one, I really enjoyed the cinnamon, nutmeggy, spicy on the nose. The nose on this, though, now, I do detect, I don't know, maybe just a hint of citrus.
Whatever that little minty thing happening is, or eucalyptus, it has a little bite at the very end, and it really, that is an interesting flavor.
Okay, so now I almost detect a little bit of honey.
I'm picking up like hibiscus and rose.
Okay.
Almost like some pine.
Oh, maybe that's
on
it.
the nose too.
There's just a lot. You can just throw out
But it's
carpet.
spicy.
I smell carpet.
Sorry,
I smell a new car. Okay, you're right.
A little bit of licorice.
I smell pizza. I smell
anise.
Baked chicken, pot roast. No, there is a lot of
baked beans.
Baked beans. A lot of odd flavors on the nose on this one. So I have not tasted it yet.
All right, I did. I can't wait for you guys to try it.
Based on the nose, I'm almost afraid
Because remember, I keep telling you guys, like, for me, it's about the bite.
All right.
That is alcohol, right? Like, we all know that.
Right.
Like, we just drank some hot whatever, but try that.
So then Mark was nice enough. I guess we should also say that we are drinking.
A
nice cocktail with this.
I made it
what
in
did you make
fancy
for us?
coupe glass. This is the Boulevardier. Yeah, cheers.
Yeah.
So it's a blend, equal parts, according to their recipe, equal parts of the aperitif alternative and the whiskey alternative. So it kind of has that reddish hue to it, which it should. I put a nice little orange. I got fancy with the orange, made it all symmetrical and
And so this does say on here, nowhere does it say anything about drinking it neat. It says best enjoyed in cocktails, substitute 1-to-1 for whiskey in any recipe. And right on the neck tag, it says crafted for cocktails.
Okay.
So maybe maybe trying it neat is not really fair, but we're doing it.
Yeah. Okay. Did you try it neat?
I did. I'm also going to try this one neat.
Oh. Wait, which one's that? That's a cinnamon?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. Did you try it neat?
I just did. Wow.
Okay. I haven't tried it. I'm afraid. I took a sip of the cocktail and I'm afraid. All right. Okay. There's a bite at the end.
Right?
There's a bite.
I have no idea what that is.
I don't either, but I'm just going to tell you. When I was a kid, I used to chew tobacco, and Red Man chewing tobacco was one thing that I chewed. And after you would chew Red Man chewing tobacco, you would have this flavor of tobacco juice, but it was like left behind tobacco juice, and that is exactly what that palate reminds me of. I mean, I took a big chaw, and unfortunately, instead of spitting out the tobacco juice, I actually
swallowed a little bit of it. No, it has the same burn. I mean, it is reminiscent of that same bite, that burn that you would get, and the flavor. It is like Red Man chewing tobacco. Oh man, that's rough for me. I don't know. What do you think, Matt? Rebecca, go ahead.
I'm not digging the cocktail either. I feel really bad. I mean, I would like to try it with something else. Like maybe it is in a. We just talked about a mule.
Yeah.
Like maybe with the ginger beer, it'd be a nice compliment to the bite of that.
Maybe it would.
But it's so different from. I don't know.
I
like the other. It's funny because the last round that we were talking, the Spiritless was almost like a tea type. It's not flavor. Strength of flavor, I guess. The way to put it. Where this totally takes a different approach, where it's like they tried to find a different bite.
Something. This says the tag, the liquor replacement, the highest rated and most awarded non-alcoholic spirit. So interesting. Matt, what are your thoughts on that?
The palate of the Ritual Whiskey alternative is, to me, tastes like watered down apple cider vinegar with like a little bit of
tobacco juice.
To me, there's like a little lemon.
Okay.
On it.
Obviously, again, I mean, I want to go back and say these are not made to be enjoyed neat. Obviously, this is not what they make these for, right? So, but I wanted us to at least taste them neat, just so we could give an impression of what we thought. Not a fan. I'm just going to say that of it.
Almost like a little like tomato or like red bell pepper juice, like pepper.
Like a capsaicin thing happening?
Yeah.
On the palate with it. But
okay, so let's jump back to something.
Yeah, let's get to Rebecca here.
Oh, goodness gracious. Forward. So, we're talking a little bit about...
I'm the alternative to the alternative.
Yeah, thank goodness you're here too. But you're not spiritless by any means.
Got some great spirit.
Yeah, so we're talking about the
2024.
Spirits. That's right. It's going to be a banner year. So let's talk about what you got going on in terms of like food. New chef out there, everything going on.
Oh, I'm so excited about
let's talk
about
that with the Stave.
Tim Perkins is our chef.
Okay.
He is is bringing some fantastic things. We actually, as you can imagine, during dry January and being a bourbon restaurant, we're a little slow right now. By the way, if you have tried to get into the Stave, and I'm very sorry, I really do not like the fact that unfortunately some people cannot get in, and I really, I try to be a good hostess. I don't like to turn anyone away, but unfortunately sometimes the wait even gets to be too long for people, especially at the height of the season, which is really April through October. It's really difficult to get into the Stave, but January, February, March, that's the time to get into the Stave. I don't even think you need a reservation in January, dare I say. Yeah. But so we're doing some fun things that Rebecca has time to put together because of the slowness. So I've been putting together kind of featuring some smaller distilleries around Kentucky. Some friends of mine. So last week we featured RD1 Distillery out of Lexington. Our friend Barry Brenninger came out and spoke with everybody. And we kind of formatted it. So we have found at the Stave that nobody wants to buy tickets and plan on going out to the Stave to drink a lot and then try to go back home, right? So I don't know if it's like they feel comfortable doing it spur of the moment. We don't encourage over drinking, obviously. Right. But I think our events are better done as a kind of almost happy hour style, or hey, there's some specials on the table that you can get, and here's some options, and come visit, and we'll all just have fun. Yeah. So those are the most successful, and I think we wanted to have this kind of casual, like fireside chat. This was actually Castle and Key, I have to credit for sure. Right. They are the ones during COVID that were like, hey, we're going to release this new ride. We'd like to come out and do a fireside chat with you, which was perfect during COVID because that's all we had open. I don't even think we had the interior open yet. And
that
we
was
just
a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun.
Great event.
So I think to continue on that note, thanks to Castle and Key, is to do, and hopefully they'll be coming out as well. Nice. So I really wanted to kind of feature the distillery, put them into some fantastic cocktails, and then suggest some food pairings that Chef Perkins, Chef Tim is going to work on. It's been a really neat format. Yeah. And really, with the exception of RD1, they could only attend on a Saturday. But from now on, that series will take place on a Sunday from 3 to 6. And so, and I would expect this will come back in years to come. So awesome. Last January we took off. We are not taking off this January, just so everybody knows. You can come without a reservation. Nice. But the fireside chats will occur on Sundays from 3 to 6. So we're hoping it's a nice mellow time that everybody can come talk to the distiller. This week we're having Barrel House Distillery out of Lexington. Right. Limestone Branch has signed up for, I believe, the 28th, if that's a Sunday.
Okay, yeah. Is that going to be Steve Beam or Steve Fonte?
Is going to come out, and I love him. I miss him. I haven't seen him in so long.
Stephen Fonte is going to come out and talk a little bit to everybody.
Oh, he's such a great character. I love him.
He's something else.
Yes. So that'll be fun. I think, and just to try to get, we've been, the folks from Whiskey Thief they are friends of mine from architecture school. Really? So it is really nice to see them out on the Bourbon Trail now. Right. And I can't wait for them to come as well. So I've reached out to them. I hope they can find the time to partake and come do the same.
That'll be a lot of fun. And I'm sorry, I wanted to come out to see Barry because we love Barry. He's just such a great dude. We've had him on the show twice. Just love him. Love RD1, what they're doing. So I wanted to come out. We were in Nashville though, so I wasn't able to make it out. But
I'm sure you'll make it out for now.
Oh, I definitely will. There's no question about it. But now, so besides the Stave, you've also got District 7 Social, which is newer.
It's crazy different.
Yeah, it is. So
it's funny. We always joke that it's on the same road, right? Because we're right off of Old Frankfort Pike, really at the very end of if you take Old Frankfort from Lexington all the way out until it dead ends. We're just a quick little squiggly jaunt. Right. Squiggly jaunt down to the Stave. Another mile from the end of Old Frankfort. Ride. Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh.
I've actually done that a couple times from Lexington down the loop.
That is a big old bike ride.
Frankfort Pike, and then down, ridden past you all in the Stave, up past Woodford. Wow. Come back into town that way. It's a nice,
that's gorgeous.
80-mile round trip.
Yeah, it is. Beautiful. I was going to say, I think it's 25 miles from my place to the Stave.
I went and swam 2 miles on top of that. Then ran 16. No big deal.
That's awesome.
Anyway.
No, so District 7, we always joke, is on the same street as the
funny.
Stave. But we are on Old Frankfort, which in Lexington becomes, because in Lexington we have to change names of every single street, at least 3 times.
Yes.
Old Frankfort becomes Manchester Street in the Distillery District in Lexington. One of the things that I noticed when I started the Stave is that if I was to be at the Stave lunchtime and then come to the Distillery District in the evening, it was the same people. So it's really the same clientele that frequents kind of that area around Woodford Reserve, Buffalo Trace, Wild Turkey, Four Roses, us, Woodford, and Castle and Key, like in Glens Creek. Everybody out there can just really quickly make it 30 minutes to Lexington and pop into the Distillery District, and then you get James Pepper and RD1 and Barrel House and Town Branch, and it's just kind of a nice part of the trip. So the other reason I was looking, of course, at the Distillery District, I was the architect for so many of the places down there. So they are my friends. They are... we were looking for a place for a long time down there, and this came about. Of course, we looked at other places too, but this seemed to have the potential. And kind of in the meantime, right as we were talking about 2020 through 23, trying to have fun and figure out how to do that in a safe way, or to try to just have some normalcy in our lives in the face of like some rough times. We would take our family seeking out someplace someplace safe and something fun to do. And we found all of these amazing things. We found duck pin bowling. We found, we knew that golf simulators were starting to really kind of make this weird appearance everywhere. And one of the most favorite things that we found was, and this is funny, I should tell this whole story because you never know, but we kept running into self-serve beer walls. And loved it. We're like, what? Are you kidding me?
I know,
like, how do we do this? Like, geeking out, right? I love the tech. And fairly successful. Like, usually it was user error, even us, like trying to like, what? How do you do the... And once we figured it out, we're like, all right, this is great. And when we found the space that we did, we really knew that we could combine some of those things into kind of a unique kind of gaming hall. And again, my background being German, I think it was my opportunity to kind of present a little bit of my heritage. So, mind you, the Stave is 900 square feet. District 7 is 6,000 square feet. It is a huge difference. Like, and even in running it, of course. And here's the funny thing. Here's what the story I wanted to tell. I really thought that I really wanted to run it, not really fast casual, but Toast Order and Pay is Toast is our point of sale system. And they have, basically you can scan a QR code and order the food, and it just comes right to you. It's magic. And then you go get your own beer. Like,
I know,
it's fantastic. Everyone hated it. They hated it. They were like, we really just want to talk to somebody. And I feel like that's my fault. I didn't recognize the change as it was occurring from we don't want to touch anything to we want to do all the touching. Right? Like, we want people to come to us and talk to us. And so, and again, it's kind of generational, I hate to say, but it appeared that way anyway. But regardless, I think in trying to provide amazing service, we've made a lot of adjustments over the course of the past year. District 7 is now a year old, coming up next week, I believe.
Right, awesome.
And I think we've made the correct adjustments. I think we now really run it, I hate to say as fast casual. The food is fantastic. So to you can get kind of classic German dishes, but you can also get what I call kind of American German fusion food, which I would say I grew up with in Pennsylvania. So I'm Pennsylvania Deutsch German, as well as Cincinnati German. And there literally is a city version and a country version. But the foods I ate were so unique. And things like that are Polish, like pierogies, right? I mean, well, let's put all the things in dumplings and just eat them. Like, it's fantastic. All the cultures have them. So I really really wanted to present a little bit of my heritage. Of course, have the big beer hall tables and pair that with the self-serve beer and with fun in the meantime with the games, and try to have them be. I didn't really necessarily want to do foosball. I wanted to do it where a lot of people could compete and really people could participate, and also the most important part of restaurant, I should have said this a long time ago, is to see and be seen. It's the reason why we go to restaurants. We go secretly to watch people. Sure. I hate to say, but we do it, and we do it to be seen, right? Yeah. We do all the zhuzhing. Of course. And then we go to the restaurant and we sit. Even the decision of where to sit, I think, is that kind of quick, how much do I want to show myself off? Where do I want to sit and be perched to watch people? Hate to say it, but it is very true.
Well, I think it seems like your podcasting guy was writing your ad for your copy to run for District 7, and he came up with this line that said, "Be seen, be social, District 7 social."
Oh, yes, I do remember that. Yes.
And I don't know why I came.
Very true.
It was just
that's right.
But that's the way it felt, It's because it's open. People are down there. People watch everybody playing the games, having a good time.
Yeah.
And you can be social because it's a social hall, right? So. Yeah,
and I will say my response design-wise to maybe some existing places, and other places have a different blend of games, a different vibe.
Right.
I wanted it to be a little bit more feminine. I wanted the women to feel comfortable, to bring their kids in, to have a cocktail, to have a glass of wine, and see their kids, play. Because I will just say, there's other places in town that you can go play games, you can go drink, you can go eat all the good things, but the watching of the children is a little bit different, or it's just not there. And I always joke that I made it for myself.
Yeah.
Because I wanted a place where I could let my kids, not necessarily wild free, but be able to keep an eye on them and have a glass of wine at the same time.
Yeah. Well, me and a couple of buddies went down there a couple months ago. I made the little video, put it up on Instagram.
Did you get wild and free?
We got wild and free, but we had the brat burgers. Oh,
the brat burgers.
God, that was so awesome. But the wall of beer, back when I was drinking, it was so nice.
It was December. It was fine.
Just to go over and be like, scan your little card and pour your beer, get what you want, as much as you want, little as you want.
I don't want you to have to wait at the bar for the beers.
No,
I don't want you to have to wait.
It's a great idea.
Although we do have some beers. We actually did. This was kind of a good move. We actually put some of the classic domestics behind the bar,
sense. Right.
So you can come get a pitcher. Mm-hmm. I think we're the only people in the district that have pitchers of beers.
Oh, really?
Yes. So you can come get a pitcher. But then the craft beers, and we try to keep it local. About 50% of the wall is local, and then we try to do some classic craft favorites, and then some German beers mixed in with that. So it's a really neat blend, I think, on the self-serve beer wall. And
I agree.
I think. I'll be honest, the beer wall was a little bit foamy at first, and we fixed it. So I was about in tears. We had spent all this time and investment getting this up and running, and to have it not work. And people were mean about it. They were like, "I bet you'll take this down in a month." And I'm like, "No, I can't. I can't do this." And I have to say, I'm proud of the beer wall now.
Yeah,
it's doing
cool
well.
thing.
People have figured it out.
Yep.
And people love to try to figure it out. And people love the challenge, I think, of pouring their own beer. We might tease you if you can't pour your own beer, but just gently, and then we'll help you pour a beer.
Then you move on and play a game, and everybody's good. Well, let's jump back to this Boulevardier, if you want to, real quick. I tasted it. Man, the whole flavors from that whiskey come through pretty harsh for me.
It's a little bitter for me.
It's terribly bitter.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's this aperitif alternative, because it's equal parts. Right. But I keep tasting that tobacco juice spit thing, man. I just cannot get past that. And that's a childhood memory, thinking about drinking and how it sparks memories in your mind of different things. The tea you were talking about, but for me, this is not a good memory, because it's like tobacco juice that slid down the back of my throat when I was trying to be cool and chew tobacco with my buddies and making myself sick. And I took a sip and I was like, nope, I can't. I just can't do it. So unfortunately, no, this is going to be probably a pass for me on this ritual on both the aperitif and the whiskey alternative. I don't know. What do you guys think?
The cocktail to me, and thank you, Mark, for making it. It looks very nice. Presentation is gorgeous.
Thank you.
But it tastes just like eating grapefruit peel.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I knew you'd have the perfect, okay.
Really bitter,
grapefruit bitter. Like to me, kind of a miss.
Yeah, Rebecca kind of feel the same way, I'm guessing.
Well, of course, Matt puts it into the perfect words and the perfect description, but I was trying to really remember, because I do like a Boulevardier and also, what's the gin version? The
Negronis.
Negroni. Love them both.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll be honest, when I first tried Campari, and I was reminding myself of this, I actually had it at Middle Fork. Remember Middle Fork back in the day?
Yeah.
They gave me a taste of Campari, and I was like, ugh.
Yeah, not my jam.
I'm like, tastes like a chalkboard. And they were really kind of offended. And I don't know how in the world I got over that. And now I just adore it, right? Like, what's the movie? The Life Aquatic.
I've not seen it.
Where Bill Murray's character drinks Campari and soda the entire movie.
Really?
And I guess I would have thought that was horrendous, but then was like, oh, this is amazing.
It's good, yeah.
Like Campari and soda's amazing.
That's funny.
So for someone that has developed a taste for the bitterness of Campari, I still am having a little bit of a challenge with this, and I suspect it's the complexity of, like you said, even on the nose, like so many things happening.
Yeah.
But as far as the aperitif nature of Campari, I think that probably comes close.
Yeah, on the bitter. But I just can't do it. I had to push it away because I kept getting wafts of this. So unfortunately, I'm not a fan of this one. I would say for me, the winner of the night would be that cinnamon flavored whiskey alternative.
I would say too, I'd be really interested to try this with other mixers.
Try it with another,
right?
With this, as a whiskey mixer. In some other mocktail would probably be a different story than
it may be
mixed in with the Boulevardier.
I keep getting that one flavor though jumps out at me, man. It's just it's really hard.
Is that in the aperitif though? You think?
No, it's on that whiskey because on the nose it was like like terrible memory, just thoughts like. Yeah. I mean, to the point that I really can't smell this. I don't want
to. We'll take it for you.
Yeah. So anyway, well, we are sadly at the end of round 3. But I know.
What do we do? What happens?
And we wrap it up and everybody hangs out for another hour if you want to. Yeah, this has been a lot of fun. When we're drinking, this is going to be. It can go on and on and on and on, and especially like a crew episode where it's just me and Matt and the 3 other people that hang out with us. We do it like once a month. I mean, they will be here for hours. Matt always gets up and leaves by 9:30. You
guys are totally inviting me over during those times, right?
Oh yeah, you come. Of course, come for a crew
always
episode.
an open invitation
for you, no doubt about that,
Love
Rebecca.
It. Love it.
You are our number 1 supporter. Always have. I mean, from the day one. I mean, so.
Thanks. Well, I mean, it's a great. You guys are doing great things. I love it. I'm happy to be a part of.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that. Yeah. So. Before we wrap it up, let's see. Any final thoughts? Anything? You talked about your fireside chats. Anything else coming up with the Stave or District 7?
I think, like I said, just looking at everybody regrouping. We're just trying to really run with the highlights and try to get rid of the riffraff, right?
Yeah. I agree.
And just try to make it. Just try to keep honing in on what's successful and really trying to make those. Make the products that we are, the Stave and District 7, just the best that we can.
Very nice.
And it's just us. It's just, my family and myself. So that's it.
Well, we love it. Any other final thoughts before we get out tonight?
No, thanks for having me here. This is amazing. You guys are fantastic.
Thanks for the suggestion.
This has been really fun.
Yeah, this was a great idea.
Thank you.
Matt, final thoughts from you before we get out of here?
Rebecca, thank you so much as always for everything you've done for us these 5 seasons. It's hard to believe. We've been doing it that long, but even harder to believe that we could do it without your support and without you being behind us the whole way. So thank you so much. We're looking forward to everything that's coming up for you in the future, for us in the future. And you've got duck back on the menu. So
I know, I'm really excited
to
have duck on the menu again.
Yeah, there you go.
I will be back at the Stave soon.
No doubt about it. Well, you know how I feel about you. Obviously, appreciate you so much and everything you've done.
Thanks,
from the
you guys.
From the very beginning, you've been a believer in what we do. and you've supported us, and I just appreciate that so much. You've been with us the whole time. I mean, you're the only person that has been with us and believed in us from day one. So all the growth we've experienced, everything, the successes, I mean, you've been behind that. So, I mean, we wouldn't be doing this, I don't think, really without your support. So thank you so much.
We're also lucky to do this together.
I agree. I mean, it's amazing.
Adventure.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. The whiskey alternative, maybe that wasn't the adventure that I necessarily wanted to go on, but I'm glad you guys got to go on it with me at least.
Yeah,
here we are.
If we're going to go down
Talk to
some
us in February.
rocky, rapid water, there are two other people I would rather do it
and
with
happy
than
to
both
provide
of you.
these reviews, right?
Yeah.
Like to everybody.
No one's doing it but us so
Exactly
far.
right.
Know,
yeah.
right?
Now we know why.
All good.
Oh, well, thank you, Rebecca. We really appreciate you coming out and hanging out with us live and recording. I know we're not sitting. Last time we were sitting on the couches, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
We've moved over to the podcasting table to be somewhat more official looking, I guess. So, well, thank you for coming out and hanging out. Thank you, our listeners. Like Matt says, whatever time of day it is, you get your Bourbon Life fix, morning, noon, or night. We appreciate you hanging out with us. We are, of course, the Bourbon Life Podcast presented by Liquor Barn. We appreciate their sponsorship. We appreciate all of our sponsors, like Rebecca and this Stave. We're very thankful for them. We couldn't do the show without their help and support, so we thank them for that. If you want to find out more information about us, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at The Bourbon Life. You can also join our private Facebook group, The Bourbon Lifers. We'd love to have you in there. We've got almost 2,000 people in there now, so a lot of fun little conversations going on in there. Also, I want to say, check out Mike's podcast, Big Chief. He does the Whiskey Trip. It's released under our umbrella, so every Tuesday a new show comes out from Mike. He's interviewing some great guests on that show as well, so check him out, give him a listen. We'd really appreciate that. If you want to reach out to us, you can email us at thebourbonlife@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your suggestions, comments, any ideas you have for shows. Love to hear that. And if you feel so inclined, please leave us a review on your favorite podcasting platform. With that said, I'm going to wrap it up, send us home with our favorite tagline, which is...
But it is our favorite one as well.
It is our favorite tagline. It's our only tagline, which is, may your glasses always be full, and may you keep on living the bourbon life.
Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of the Bourbon Life Podcast. Our mission at the Bourbon Life is simple: to share our passion for all things bourbon with you every week. And we'd really love to hear your thoughts on how we're doing. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at The Bourbon Life. You can also contact us by email at thebourbonlife@gmail.com. And you can always find us on your favorite podcast platform. If you have a moment, we'd love it if you would rate us and give us a review. So until next week, we hope your glass is always full and that you keep on living the bourbon life.